Hi, welcome everyone. We'll just give a few moments for folks to join. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. We'll just give it another minute for folks to join and we'll kick off. All right. Well, hi, everyone. Welcome to Upwardly Global's annual public board meeting. I'm Tammy Ling. I'm our board chair, and we're so grateful to have staff, board members, partners, job seekers, supporters, and alumni from our community that are joining us here today. I have a few kind of logistic reminders just for the group. The meeting will be recorded. A copy of that recording is available on Upwardly Global's website and will be posted on social media as well. So thank you all for joining us. So every year we see this meeting really as an opportunity to bring our community together, reflecting on the past year, celebrating our wins, and speaking frankly about our challenges. This gathering is a way to ground ourselves in the moment and really get ready for the year ahead. 2025 has been a transformative year for our organization, and we have so much to look forward to. During this program, you'll hear about new innovative partnerships with leading corporations, incredible service to more job seekers than ever before, and our strengthening commitment to remaining a humanity first organization while leveraging AI to further our impact. All of this will come from what many of you will recognize as a powerful new leadership team. Last year, we made a commitment to ensuring our internal culture reflects our external values, and I couldn't be more excited about the team we've assembled to help carry that commitment forward. Thank you to everyone who has supported our organization through growth, change, and extraordinary impact. With that, it's my pleasure to officially open our public board meeting and hand it over to Steve Osler, our interim CEO, to kick off today's program.
Thank you, Tammy, and really thank you for all of you being here today. It means a lot to us. We hold this public board meeting every year, but this one does feel significant and special. One, because we're celebrating 25 years of impact through our mission to ensure that immigrants can contribute so much of their needed talent to the workforce. We've strengthened communities, we've lifted up industries, and we've helped make dreams come true for a full generation of newcomers to this country. And you know what? We're just getting started. At this critical moment, we have the opportunity to think big and to reimagine how we can create greater impact. In order to fully maximize the global talent in the United States, Upwardly Global is ready to do more. Through working with partners, funders, our amazing job seekers, we know that the future holds unprecedented economic contributions from skilled immigrants and refugees. We want this organization to be as strong and as steady as possible to meet the challenges of our ambitious mission, especially when there's so much fraught in our culture, the political moment that we find ourselves in. That's why this year and in 2026, we're investing in our people. We want to give our team the tools that they need to drive impact and to affect real change. Last year, our board of directors made the conscious decision to attract a bold, innovative new leadership team to guide us into our future. Alice Kang became our president. She brings 2 decades of experience in strategic planning, storytelling, and movement building for mission-driven organizations like Amnesty International. Alexis Williams joined as our first ever Chief Revenue Officer, and she brings more than 15 years of experience raising philanthropic capital, and her strategy-driven approach will be instrumental in shaping Upwardly Global's long-term sustainability and scale. And Abigail Ziv, she was promoted as our Chief Program Officer. She came to Upwardly Global with 2 decades of experience supporting immigrant and refugee communities, and her deep expertise in program leadership have been central to our success. Alice, Alexis, and Avi are now joined by our new Chief Executive Officer, and I'm pleased to introduce you to Gregory Hill. We are so excited for this impressive team at the helm as we look to our next chapter. Greg is a truly transformational leader. Through his work as the board chair of the Federal Reserve in Atlanta, his research at the Harvard University Kennedy School, Greg has developed a deep understanding of the workforce challenges that underrepresented communities face. He has extensive experience in education, being a president and CEO of one of the largest community colleges in our country, connections with government and corporate ecosystems, and he is going to work in partnership with other organizations to scale our collective success. Greg cares deeply about our work, and he also understands the challenges ahead. He leads with courage and compassion. You'll get to hear from all four of these leaders today during our meeting as they share the accomplishments of the past year, our priorities for 2026, and they will remind us of why we do what we do. As we look back on 25 years, we are so grateful for all who have been part of our journey and success, but we also believe that the best years are those that are ahead. We know that our team, in working with many others, many of you, will create economic mobility for tens of thousands more. Now, I am pleased to give the floor to our president, Alice King.
Thank you, Steve. Hi, I'm Alice Kang, president of Upwardly Global. Thank you, both of you, for getting us started today. Since joining Upwardly Global about a year ago, it's been wonderful getting to know the Upward community. So thank you for being part of this meeting today. As Steve mentioned, 2025 has been a milestone year for the organization. Over the past 25 years, UpGlow has grown from a local San Francisco network into a thriving national ecosystem. And every step of that journey has been driven by one purpose: supporting the millions of immigrant, refugee, and asylee professionals who come to the US ready to share their skills and strengthen new communities. As we enter the last few weeks of this year, I'm honored to uplift and share some of UpGlow's accomplishments from 2025 that everyone here today helped make happen during a time of transition and transformation. Our job coaches are central to everything that we do. Through UpGlow Direct, they provide one-on-one coaching to immigrant professionals who are navigating the US workforce. Professionals like Salma, a doctor from Morocco who moved to the US hoping to continue her medical career. But instead of finding skill-aligned work in the land of opportunity, for 2 years, Salma was met with housing instability, survival wage jobs, and a medical system that didn't recognize her international credentials. Salma found an ally in her UpGlow job coach, saying she just wasn't a mentor, she was my support system. She believed in me even when I didn't. After countless interviews and endless hours of preparation, Salma is now on her way to reclaiming her medical career. She matched for residency this year at a Pittsburgh hospital. Salma's success story is proof of the UpGlow difference. So, to meet the moment and support newcomers affected by changing immigration rules, we expanded eligibility criteria for program participants. Thanks to a record number of applications, we're on track to serve 8,000 job seekers through UpGlow Direct this year, more than ever before, and an incredible 65% increase over 2023. That number does not include the over 6,000 new job seekers expected to use our services through the UpGlow Connect model. We nearly doubled our partnership portfolio this year with 57 new partners. We're also committed to opening doors in the US for international talent to contribute and thrive. From local education institutions like Holyoke Community College to on-the-ground workforce organizations like Global Direct and social service providers like HopeLink. This means even more immigrant and refugee populations across the country can access our proven tools and resources. Another crucial branch of our work is helping employers to find and hire talented international candidates. With more than 1,600 job seekers in our Upload talent databases, we're bringing qualified candidates directly to employers and building meaningful connections between our job seekers and companies that understand the value of an inclusive workforce. Just last month, we shared breakthrough findings from our partnership with LinkedIn through its outcomes tracking pilot program. We found that at least 35,000 UpGlow alum have secured skill-aligned employment over the last 25 years. This number triples our previously verified total of 12,242, which was based solely on self-reporting from program alumni. It's an exciting and critical moment for us. In just 1 year, I've seen firsthand the ripple effects of the work we do every day. With every resume, every placement, every partnership, and each and every supporter like you, we're building a more inclusive and welcoming society that truly recognizes and embraces newcomers. So thank you for being part of this incredible community. I know we will carry the current forward into the next 25 years together. I pass on to Avi, our Chief Program Officer.
Hi, everyone. I'm Avi Zeev, Chief Program Officer at Upwardly Global. Alice, thank you for that inspiring look back on all that we have achieved in 2025. As I reflect back on the past year, it is impossible not to acknowledge the deep and far-reaching impacts felt by the immigrant communities we serve each and every day. And we want to clearly affirm that our commitment to standing with and supporting immigrants, refugees, and asylees has not wavered. If anything, it has only deepened as we see these communities facing renewed attacks and divisive rhetoric. New executive orders and deeply harmful shifts in immigration policy, many of which we have seen just in these past weeks, have created fear and instability for so many. We also know these changes affect employers trying to plan for the future and maintain a stable workforce strategy. I try to avoid saying now more than ever because our work is always vital. But with the stakes so high, our mission does feel especially urgent. We must meet this moment with strength, with sincerity, with collective partnership with so many of you on this call, and with adaptability as we work to drive the change we want to see. In my role, I have the absolute privilege of overseeing the engine of our work and the program staff who make it possible. So I'm confident that we can evolve and adapt intentionally to meet this moment because I already see it happening every day. To get there, we are focusing on bringing our work closer together. We're integrating our programs and insights into one unified ecosystem to ensure we are providing the most innovative, accessible solutions for all our stakeholders, job seekers, alumni, employers, workforce partners, and supporters. So what does this mean? It means we're committed to expanding our reach and deepening our impact so that every immigrant professional, wherever they meet us, can access the guidance, support, tools, and connections they need to rebuild their careers. It means tailoring our content to address individual goals and unique knowledge gaps. And it means investing in the latest technology to ensure employers can access qualified, diverse talent more efficiently. That last piece represents a major priority for Upwardly Global. We are proud to be a nonprofit on the leading edge of AI-driven innovation, and this commitment is driving us forward in 2026. This commitment is already underway through our partnership with Workday and HiredScore, who we collaborated with to develop our latest tool for talent acquisition teams, the Upwardly Global Fetch. This tool allows recruiters to surface candidates from our talent pool using an AI-driven, skills-first search model, mitigating hiring bias and creating visibility and access at scale for immigrants and refugees across the country. It is this balance of leveraging technology and maintaining a high-touch, relationship-driven approach that will continue to set us apart. I'm so excited for the opportunity we have to scale and deepen our impact as we evolve, and truly grateful to be on this journey with all of you. Thank you, and I'm turning it over to Alexis Williams, our Chief Revenue Officer.
Hi, everybody. My name is Alexis Williams, as Avi said, and I'm the new Chief Revenue Officer here at Upwardly Global. You've heard a lot today about how 2025 has been a year of transformation at Upglow, but it would be silly not to acknowledge how 2025 has also been a major shift in the world at large. And as Avi mentioned, today's political climate has introduced some real obstacles for immigrants, refugees, and our shared ideals. Right now, we're witnessing effects unfolding in our communities that are hardworking communities across the country. And as we keep hearing this word, unprecedented times, we're living in them, and the challenges are equally as unprecedented. These are challenges that we know that future generations are going to read about in history books. And so that requires us to show up differently in this moment. In times like these, you and I both know that hope can be really hard to maintain, especially for those who are most at risk. A lot of people ask us, what can I do? And so think about that for a second. What can you do in this moment? What we can do together is continue to act boldly. And that's exactly what Upwardly Global is doing now. We're standing strong and supporting our people today, and we're asking you to stand strong with us. If you've known us for a little while or many, many years, you know that we don't just polish resumes or tweak cover letters. We're changing lives and we're creating generational impact. That kind of impact echoes through families, through neighborhoods, and through communities for decades to come. And what we're doing here today and in that next 25 years is redefining inclusion through work. We're doing that through creating pathways that allow for talented newcomers to re-enter their professions and contribute fully to the communities that they now call home. We do this work because we know this much. A licensed doctor shouldn't have to drive for Uber just to survive, especially when we're facing an insane shortage of healthcare professionals across the United States. It just doesn't make sense. And right now, more than 2 million work authorized immigrants in the United States are underemployed or unemployed. And even though many are trained engineers, educators, and doctors, this is why our work matters. When a job seeker sits down with one of our coaches, they're going to gain an advocate, an industry guide, and a partner who believes in their potential. That relationship is often the difference between staying stuck in a survival job and stepping into a role that really reflects their skills and, even more importantly, their dreams. And so, as we gather here today, I'm really grateful for all of the support that we've seen from this community, from all the people on this call. Your support matters, and it matters because you are helping immigrant professionals rebuild their careers in this country. And what that's doing is unlocking opportunities to strengthen families, communities, and the broader economy. Your support also allows us to pilot new technologies that will improve efficiency for recruiters and increase visibility for immigrant job seekers nationwide. It enables us to broaden our ecosystem and build out bigger, better partnerships focused on workforce inclusion, not just because it's the right thing to do, but because it's a sound business strategy that expands talent pools by helping companies fill critical roles and diversify perspectives and stay competitive and improve retention outcomes. So when the headlines feel heavy, I just want you to remember this. Hope is not passive. We know that, right? Hope is not passive. Hope is something that we practice. It lives in the choices that we make, the organizations that we support. And I hope you support Upglow. I have to put that plug in because that's my job. And the people that we choose to stand beside. Upwardly Global is really standing here with you all in this moment because we're a community. And we're not going to be swept away by the fear. We're going to be pushing forward with courage and with clarity. And so today, I really want to invite you all to act boldly with us. Now is that time to show immigrants and refugees in this country how much we value them. Now is the time to embrace the common humanity that resides in all of us. And now is the time to invest in a future where inclusion isn't just a word that we throw around, but it's a reality that we're building together, one person and one job and one family at a time. Together, we can create a unified movement that spreads nationwide by investing in this future of our nation. So I want to thank you for believing in this work, for showing up in this room, and for standing strong with Upwardly Global. Your generosity is the difference between a nation that turns its back on talent and a nation that recognizes talent as its greatest strength. We're looking really forward to working and building with you on this legacy for the next 25 years. And I'm really excited because that legacy starts today. So before we get to the closing piece of our program, where you'll hear from our new CEO, Gregory Hale, we want to share a short video with you that really captures the why of what we do and shows the human impact side of what we're talking about today. So thank you. Please cue the video.
I've always wanted to work in medicine. I grew up in West Africa, Nigeria. I came in as a trained physician. My first job was a caregiver. That was because I didn't know where to look into. I think it's safe to use the word unfulfilled, even though you know that I can do this thing. But again, you don't have the resources. There are so many times, you're down, you're depressed. Some days I just want to cry. Looking back now, it was really tough.
An IMG, international medical grad. They come at all different times in their careers from all over the world. The first part of our program is really to train them and help them through the process. We help them adapt their resumes, understand U.S. culture and interviewing, and help them build a professional network. But in the healthcare field, it's so highly regulated that it's really, really a struggle.
The barriers are almost insurmountable, so they find themselves having to drive taxis or Ubers to earn a living for their families. I found Upwardly Global, and that was very helpful. It's safe to say they mean everything when it comes to my journey professionally. From a caregiver to assistant, then I moved to research world, then assistant physician, and then finally my residence. So it took me about roughly, I would say, 8 years. They have the training, they have the skills, and we need their work. So we were able to pass legislation here in Illinois. They just have to go through a training process that's designed for them. And they spend 2 years working under supervision, and then they're able to regain their license and practice and contribute to the provision of healthcare here in Illinois. For me, being an immigrant, it's very important that I show my kids you can do anything. Trust me, you can do anything. You just have to put in the hard work.
Thank you, everyone. This is Alice Kang, and I'm here very pleased to introduce Gregory Hale, our new CEO. Greg, how are you today?
I'm doing incredibly well. How are you?
Good. We're so excited to introduce Greg to the community. Would love to give Greg an opportunity to talk about what drew you to Upwardly Global in this moment in your career.
Yeah, thank you very much. So let me just say, it is an absolute honor and privilege to be able to join Upwardly Global as its CEO. Even just sitting here for the portion of the meeting that has passed thus far, incredibly inspiring, remarkable the efforts that have taken place this year, but far greater than that is the existence of the organization for the last 20 years and the ambition I would argue, is quite incomparable when we think about both the challenges that we see, but the ambition in the future that this organization is capable of. It's hard to say what brought me here without going back just a little bit so that you can all get to know me. And I know this won't offer all there is to know, but hopefully this is a bit of a window of opportunity. I know that there are many of you who are watching this and inevitably will see a video at some point of it as well. But I truly do hope to get to know as many of you as I can personally, knowing that you are allies and supporters of the organization. And if you are allies and supporters of the organization, then in my view, you are an ally and supporter of humanity and the people that this organization serves and the mission that this has for our country. We actually sit here in Atlanta in the building at the Federal Reserve Bank, but I actually live in Fort Lauderdale and was born and raised in Queens, New York. And for those who know Queens, New York, an incredibly diverse community. I know at one point maybe continues to be the most diverse county in the United States of America. And I grew up in a difficult time in a difficult environment. 1980s, primarily early 1990s, in an area called South Jamaica, Queens. Somewhat of a challenging neighborhood, to say the least. Brief description, I had bars on every window of my home. I unfortunately lost a number of friends to gun violence growing up, and it was a challenging environment. There's no escaping that. And my mother did something very, what I would say, creative and courageous, and I've shared this many times, is that because the neighborhood was so bad, she actually lied about my address so I could go to school in a better neighborhood. And I think inevitably that made a great difference in my life. Ended up continuing to live in that neighborhood until I graduated from high school and went off to college at Arizona State University. I went 2,500 miles away for school, sight unseen. And it was, quite frankly, an incredible growth experience and remarkable experience in so many different ways. But you go to a school at that time, which was and continues to be the largest college in America, and you meet people from all over the world. You learn a lot about yourself and you learn to grow in many different ways that you hadn't imagined. Um, After going off to college, I went to Columbia for law school, back to New York City, and did a lot of wonderful, interesting things there. But one of the reasons I went back is because I actually wanted to go back to my old neighborhood, my old high school, and let people know that beyond the challenges of the day to day, there is opportunity that can be quite rewarding, and that was important to me. Thereafter, graduating law school, I started my career as a class action securities litigator of all things. So this is now 2002, 2003, when securities litigation was at its height in many ways. A lot of challenges. If you remember companies like Enron and WorldCom and Tyco collapsing, that was a really challenging time in the economy as well back then. And but the truth is, I was a corporate litigator for a number of years. And I love the people I work with. I love how stimulating it was. But what I always found myself doing is remembering some of the challenges of the community that I grew up in. And some of those times, those challenges were you could see the most talented people with all the capacity in the world, but with barriers that they had to face on a day-to-day basis that were far beyond their control. And not only were they not within their control, but they had a difficult time navigating those things. Now, I won't say I was as conscious about those things then as I am now, but I do remember just thinking about it. And so I always found myself, even as a litigator, which is a very busy career, undoubtedly, but trying to do things in the community and staying involved. So I was involved in a number of nonprofit organizations and just finding different ways to be supportive and make a difference in the lives that I found were often challenged, but also full of capacity and full of ability. And I know we'll talk about this a little bit more, but I transitioned from a corporate litigator to being a general counsel of a very large college, Broward College, and then being the president of that institution. And in that institution, very unique in the sense that about 150 countries of origin were represented among the student body there. So you get to spend time serving, getting to know intimately, having meals, and educating people from all over the world and learning about the challenges and barriers and what it looks like to be able to help satisfy those so that, frankly, they can optimize their own potential to serve themselves, to serve their families, to serve their communities. Just an absolutely remarkable time. Transitioned to going to Harvard to serve as a senior fellow there. working with people from all over the world. And as I think about landing here at Upwardly Global, there were a number of things specifically. I probably touched on a couple of them just in the description of my own transition in life, but there is something about Upwardly Global uniquely special as it relates to identifying individuals with talent, ambition, frankly, a love for this country and where they live. And at the same time, recognizing that as a nation, we have so much talent that yearns to be optimized, and we are not doing the very best that is possible in that regard. And Upwardly Global sits in such a unique place in that I've had a chance to meet a number of staff members. Obviously, I've met board members as well and members of the leadership team, including yourself. And every single person I've engaged is someone who's incredibly passionate about the organization, passionate about the service, but I would argue incredibly passionate about what's possible, but yet to be attained. And it is hard not to be inspired by that. And it's also important to recognize that that doesn't exist everywhere. Not every organization recognizes that there's a lot more work to be done, that it's okay to have an extraordinary amount of ambition, and just as much to couple that ambition with the recognition that while this is a great organization, we don't have to do it alone either. And another point I'll tie to that is just, I can feel the innovation in this organization and the energy and the interest in being greater than what is done. And so all very exciting and motivating reasons to want to be involved.
Thank you. Yeah, we definitely feel energized and motivated by you joining us as well.
Yeah,
so super exciting.
Thank you.
So you mentioned the Atlanta Fed. You're the board chair of the Atlanta Federal Reserve Bank. We're sitting in their offices today. Can you just share a little bit about how your work there connects with the challenges and opportunities you think Upwardly Global is trying to address?
Sure. So one of the things that the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta, just like other Federal Reserve banks and the Board of Governors focus on, you have to remember there's essentially a two-pronged mandate. One mandate is price stability, and the other one is full employment. And certainly in looking at the second mandate, we're thinking routinely about what it looks like in the labor market, where there are gaps, where there are opportunities, not just the employment rate, but really looking into the details of what some of the challenges are and how do we make sure that individuals have the skills that they need, and what's the how do we stay conscious of that, but also that the workforce needs are being met. And so there's a plain intersection there when I think about the work of Upwardly Global, because so much, I love the video, by the way, that we shared around what was happening in Illinois. But one of the most incredible elements of that video is the data part of it, which tends to be in large part how I like to drive work, is what is the data telling us? The stories are incredibly important, and thickening the data with those stories are very important. But how powerful is it to see that there was a shortfall of 6,000 doctors expected by 2030, but at the same time, you had 12,000 immigrant physicians waiting to be fully employed. That is a story that needs to be told, in my view, over and over again. And it can be told not just in the healthcare industry, obviously, but in many industries across our nation. And when we think about that in and of itself, as a nation, we have to challenge ourselves to say, what does it look like to meet the needs of our constituents and the people we serve? And to see that those gaps are here, I think forces us, it compels us to want to think through, it feels like the answer is there. So what do we need to do in terms of execution to help bridge that gap? So in many ways, that's a large part of the story that you'll see Federal Reserve economists and other leaders working on. But certainly there's a plain intersection in terms of that work and the work that we're doing in Upwardly Global.
You're also a senior fellow at the Harvard Kennedy School.
Yeah.
You've talked about how your research is around national security and how AI, the workforce, inform national security. Can you talk a little bit also about how that will connect to our work here?
Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, I took on the role of senior fellow at the Motivar Rahmani Center for Business and Government at the Harvard Kennedy School. And what the center focuses on is the intersection of really global challenges at the intersection of business and government. And one of the challenges that is truly global, but certainly here domestically in the United States, is just the very basic realities of demographic and birth rate challenges, which I know is something that we're paying attention to at Upwardly Global as well. In many nations, you can look at there are challenges relating to birth rates and deficit and shortfalls. We have that challenge in the United States as well. By 2040, the expectation is that we will have, unfortunately, more people dying in this country than being born. So we have to ask ourselves, what does it look like for us to make up for that? Mm-hmm. Specifically, the work that I'm doing at the Kennedy School tied to that is if you start to look at the birth rate shortages, which is something that it does not look like we have found a way to change or shift. And if we do, it would take a generation to do that. Mm-hmm. And then you also have this recognition that with the growth of AI, there's this fork in the road, I think, as we think about AI, right? You have a lot of people talking about whether AI will displace employees, but you probably have more that are actually talking about whether AI is going to require greater human capital adjacency, right? Mm-hmm. So what does it mean to make sure that more people are skilled in the tools of AI than are today? And so imagine now you have less human capital based on birth rates, but you also have the growth and need of human capital to work adjacent to AI. Mm-hmm. And as that growth continues to occur, it begs the question, what are we doing to tool people in that space so they can accommodate the needs as AI continues to grow in the marketplace? And on the tail end of that, if you will, but an incredibly important arc of this issue is that we are competing as the United States against the rest of the world in this AI race. So if you don't have the human capital adjacency to help meet the needs of AI, and what does it look like as we're competing with the rest of the world? That's the overall global challenge. Now, if we think about Upwardly Global in that space, again, there are brilliant, talented people in the United States that, but for the recredentialing that they need today, would be making massive contributions to our country in those fields and certainly in the world of AI. And the question in large part becomes, how do we get them in that lane so that, again, we can become as competitive as we can possibly be? It's just like if you were to think about any team sport, one of my favorite analogies is around the sport of soccer, right? There's this idea of weak link sports and strong link sports. And so an example of a strong link sport would be basketball, right? You have 5-on-5. If you have a guy named Michael Jordan on your team or LeBron James, he can get the ball, dribble it all the way to the court and hit the shot, right? Now, in a game like soccer, which I've actually never played, but only read about, okay, to be honest with you, but in a game like soccer, you actually need, there's almost never time when there's a score unless every player has touched the ball at least twice, right? And many times more often than that. So it's so important that even your weakest player be incredibly talented and be incredibly skilled. And so what does it look like for us to make sure that all of our players are as skilled as we can possibly be so that we can make sure as a nation we're as competitive as we can possibly be?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, AI has definitely been on top of mind for us over the last year and before that, and in so many intersectional ways in terms of how it affects the labor market, how it affects our training, how it affects our coaching model, right? And it's definitely something we'll continue to invest in over the next many years, I'm sure. Would love to talk about your work at Broward College. There were 55,000 students. I think that's a pretty large number.
That's right.
And you received a lot of national recognition for your leadership there. Can you talk a little bit about, what experiences from Broward College you're bringing in from a leadership and management perspective?
Yeah, I will tell you, for better or worse, one of the things that I experienced as a leader was, of course, if you were leading at the time of COVID, you know that was an extraordinary time to lead. And I feel like I've been fortunate in the sense that, I've always been close to teammates. I've always had this idea that it was important to know your colleagues, to know your teammates, and they're the player, a coach. I just realized I'm about to give a second sports analogy, which is actually very unusual, but I'm going to do it anyway. So in growing up in New York, I was a huge New York Giants fan. And I remember a coach named Bill Parcells. And Bill Parcells, at the time, coached a player named Lawrence Taylor, who was one of the best players ever in the game, and then another guy named Phil Simms. Now, who was also an incredible player, and they could not be more opposite, right? And he had this idea, and someone said, "How do you coach these two different players? And they're so dramatically different." And he said, "Well, first of all, I don't coach teams. I coach players. It's important, right?" He really felt like it was important to get to know each of them and understand how he could be supportive of them. And I will tell you, I don't know that I ever lived anything uh, like that nearly as much as when we had to experience COVID, because of course we had to go through what every institution of any type had to go through, what it looked like to transition everything you do from an operations perspective to a remote world and remote environment. And that
Especially with that many number of
with that many
students.
students and classes and things and 4,000 employees and so on and so forth. And we did it. But what I remember most is what I think about, and I've shared this before, around the currency of empathy being so important, right? Making sure that we were there for each other and what we needed, and to understand individually. I remember I would always even take calls from, I didn't care who it was, of the thousands of employees, but to take those calls and say, "What do you need?" Or to hear inadvertently that someone was going through something and to be thoughtful about what that person needed. And I got those same calls as people checked in on me as well. And in my view, an organization, a team that is trying to do something extraordinary gives itself a great benefit by not just knowing each other, but truly embracing each other in this shared mission to do something extraordinary. And to do that often means, what do you need beyond this today? And how are you? And how can we make sure that we are serving each other? It's something that obviously a very, very hard time for all of us. But it's also the kind of thing that I hope I never forget as it relates to what it looks like to be there for each other as colleagues in the most difficult time possible.
Absolutely. I've heard you describe Upwardly Global as a pocket of opportunity for unity at a fractured time in our country.
Sure.
Can you share more about your thinking around that?
Yeah. So yeah, this idea of it being a pocket of opportunity. So there's a lot of things to be divided about. And if you looked at the world of immigration, you can find that to be, again, a lot of things to be divided about. What I do think is unifying about the work that we do and the mission of this organization is that in many ways it is a nation first organization, right? It is about understanding what are the talent that industries need, as was shared earlier. What is the talent that businesses need? What is the talent that our nation needs in order to be as successful as they can possibly be? And once you centralize that as a focus, then the question becomes how, right? And in many ways, and this is where I think the future and possibilities are really endless. It's hard to see the ceiling, I think, in many ways, is we know that there is so much work authorized talent that is sitting in this country that is simply not being utilized in a way that is for the greater good of that individual, for the greater good of the businesses looking for talent, and the greater good of our nation. And so what's it look like to get as many folks under the umbrella, if you will, to have conversations around that, to provide support for that reality? I don't know a lot of businesses that say, I don't want any talented individuals that are available, right? This is something that I think is incredibly scalable in terms of what we're doing. But also, and I'd argue this piece as well, I'm not sure today that there is a true unifying voice around this work. And which means opportunity, right? At the end of the day, it raises the spectrum of what's it look like to make sure that we are engaging partners to the extent that is that we're capable of, and what's it look like to frankly open eyes to this issue, because even I at this phase continue to learn about these opportunities, and certainly being new to the organization, I'll learn so much more. But I think that there are plenty of individuals out there that know two things: they're looking for talent and they don't know where to find it. right? And so what's it look like for us to be in front of those leaders, those individuals who have that challenge that they are facing on a day-to-day basis, and to know that Upwardly Global could be the solution to that problem.
Yeah. I mean, and I would say the way we do it too is by embracing the founding principle of this country, right? Which is embracing each other and embracing humanity, right? So I think centering immigrants, refugees, asylees, it's not just the right thing to do for the nation, but it's the right thing to do for each other.
That's exactly right.
And for our communities, because it definitely makes us all better in many different ways.
That's right.
So you heard that we've done a lot over the last few years. We doubled our impact in just the last several years, which has been incredible. What are your thoughts as you're taking on this role about how to maintain that momentum, and kind of how do you think about that in a strategic but also sustainable way?
Yeah. So, I recognize that a lot of the work is coming from the support of the philanthropic community, which is incredibly important. So, one of the things that I look forward to doing is spending more time with the philanthropic community that has been supportive, but also introducing the organization to other philanthropists who are recognize the need out there from a talent perspective, but don't necessarily know that Upwardly Global is the place to go to. So that's going to be a big part of it as well. I also want us to be thinking about what does it look like to leverage partnerships that exist. Again, I do tend to think there needs we need a unifying voice around this, and I want to think about what it looks like for our partnership to come together and to be a unifying voice. It's always been important to me to think not just about the ambition. We have to have the ambition, but we also have to have the recognition that we can't do it alone. And so what's it look like to have a collective ambition of like-minded organizations that are trying to figure out the same challenge and recognize the humanity in the work that you described, but also making sure that we can speak with one voice to help make some of this come to fruition. And then I also want to be thoughtful around what it looks like to leverage technology and AI right now. One of the things, and you and I have talked about this before, is in a world where skill needs are changing so quickly. And this applies to the entire workforce in many ways, but what's it look like to be an organization that helps address that challenge on behalf of our job seekers, our alumni, and our constituents? It's something that I know it's depending on what seat you sit in, it can feel incredibly exciting and it can feel incredibly fragile. And the thought process I think we need to be embraced is what does it look like to propel those that we serve in a time that, again, can feel either way, but to recognize that there's a lot of opportunity in what we're living right now as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think our role is to really enable and to support and do capacity building around that for our job seekers. That comes to the end of my questions. Would love to give you the opportunity for any closing remarks or anything you want to share with the Upwell community.
Yeah, I'll just share. It's been remarkable to get to know everyone. I know I'm in such an early phase of this, but it is incredibly important for you all to understand, and I really do. I know I can't see you, but I'm hoping to get to meet you all and to learn all about you. But I think one of the most important things to be thoughtful around is the recognition that there is no ceiling to the opportunity. The capacity to serve millions of immigrants throughout this country is very real and very tangible. And I'm grateful to the board for honoring me with this opportunity. And I think there's a recognition already that between the staff, the board, and the constituent community, many of you who are on here, that there really is no limit to what we can accomplish, what we can serve for the individual, for our corporate community, and for our nation as well.
Thank you, Greg. Greg will join Upwardly Global officially in the new year, January 5th. So we're so excited to have you on board then. And until then, please look out for emails from us. Please follow us on social. I have to say that now. And we will be able to share more about our year-end accomplishments with you over the next few weeks. So thank you very much for joining us today for this very special public board meeting. Goodbye from wherever you're calling from. Thank you.
Take care.
Take care. Bye.